Jim Lambert. Welcome to the second episode of Coptalk, the podcast. I'm one of the authors of the book Coptalk. I'm joined here with my brother Mark, who's also a peace officer and co-author of the book, and our host of the night, Brent Berzicki. Brent,
Yes, Jim.
how you doing tonight?
Tonight, so far, so good. How about you?
Another day in paradise. Mark, how you doing?
Not bad. How about you?
Here we go. The old delayed response, making us wonder if he's there. Brent, why don't you let everyone know what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Well, tonight we're going to hit on about 3 or 4 different questions. I know Mark had mentioned that he has a couple other things to add. Plus, we're going to run into one of the local problems that we're having regarding a brand new police station in our area. Other than that, do you want me to run down website and all that right now?
Why don't we cough that out at the end? Personally, I'd like to know what Mark's having for dinner as soon as we're done.
I'll type it to you.
Oh, that's nice.
Let me guess, it's garlic chicken, just like last week. Mark's a very structured individual.
Not to get off topic, but Mark cannot actually type and talk, so I would refrain from typing, Mark.
I'll try.
Okay, so do we want to roll right into the questions for today, or do you guys have any other news you want to bring up first?
Yeah, you said we had quite a few hits this week on the site. Why don't we take some of those questions and we'll see what people are asking.
All right, well, let's start with one, and then we'll go from there. So first question comes from a reader of the website, sent it in on the Ask a Cop section. If you have a couple that's split up and there's 2 vehicles between them, one takes one vehicle, the other takes the other vehicle, both vehicles are registered to only one of the two, this gets a little bit complicated. Can the one that has their name on the title report the car stolen if the other individual refuses to give it back? Also, would the fact that both names are on the registration or only one make a difference?
Mark?
Well, basically, whoever's name is on the title is the owner of the car. A lot of times we run into that. It's a big civil issue where a couple owns a couple of cars, they split up, and all of a sudden it's a tug of war over the cars. Now, in a civil matter, you really can't report the car stolen. There's a lot of circumstances that come into play, but generally, if your name is on the title, you could have the police go to the house where the car is and do a civil standby while you get the car back. Basically, it'd come down to whoever's name is on the title. If both names are on the title, then it becomes a civil issue. You'd basically have to go to court, have a judge decide who gets the vehicle.
I guess my question would be is that something that the police are going to resolve that night, or is that something that's going to be an ongoing problem between that couple?
Well, if one person's name is on the title, just that one person, they could go there with the police, a civil standby to get the car back. Because that person has the right to the car. If both names are on the title, then the police can't decide who gets it. I mean, they'd have to flip a coin. So basically, they're going to tell the people it's a civil matter. You need to go to court and have a judge decide.
So can you just expand just a little bit on what a civil matter, or excuse me, what a civil standby is and how somebody would go about getting one of those?
Well, instead of just going there and trying to take the car back themselves and have somebody come out of the house, either an angry boyfriend or husband or whatever, and then have things escalate from there, you call a police officer, tell them you want a civil standby. They'll meet you down the street. Then you would both go to the house, and the police officer would basically stand by or assist you in getting the car back to make sure there's no escalating problems.
And that's a valid 911 call, or is that something that you try to call in during a business hour to?
No, 911 calls are basically just for emergencies. Like if you go to take the car back yourself and the guy starts shooting at you, that would be a valid 911 call. But as for a civil standby, that would be just the non-emergency line. And that's 24 hours. You can call dispatch, but you just use the non-emergency number directly to dispatch and tell them you want a civil standby. And that goes for all kinds of issues where you need a police officer to stand by for something.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not usually something that people know even exists, other than hitting 911 and getting the police. They don't it's not a widely publicized number, so something good to know.
Right, and civil standbys goes for all kinds of stuff. If roommates or somebody moves out of the house, they want to go back and get some property, but they feel there may be issues. Any kind of a landlord-tenant type dispute. If a husband gets kicked out of the house and she gets a restraining order, or vice versa, and the other party needs to go back to get property, all that is a good excuse for a civil standby, because with a police officer there, one person can't say, that something happened that really didn't. So civil standbys are good when you think there might be escalating problems.
Well, and in the past history that you've either done them or had to go to them, is that something that somebody's going to see an average response time on, or is that something that they should plan on and plan ahead for?
It all depends. If it's a police department that's not very busy, it may get dispatched immediately. If it's really busy, it's not a priority call. So if it's a busy police department, or like a Friday night or Saturday night when things could be really busy for the police department, you may have a wait. So the best thing to do would be call the police department or the dispatch and ask how long there might, a wait would be for a civil standby.
Right. So not don't walk into a situation expecting somebody to show up immediately and then have it all blow up in your face, I guess.
Right.
All right, Jim, anything to add to that?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question because a lot of people don't think about that. But say you have two people in a relationship living together, say like Brent and Mark, and
Oh, that's a
they
cute
decide
couple,
to,
let me tell you.
I'm just using that hypothetically, but
All
if
right.
they get a vehicle and get it registered or change registrations, they really pay attention to those, how the registration's worded, the names. If the registration says Brent and Mark, then any decision made with that car regarding even a sale or any civil possession, that's something that's going to be split down the middle in the court because it has both names with the word and in between. If the registration is worded Brent or Mark, then either one of those people can take action with the car because it separates the two names. So there's a big difference between name A and name B, or name A or name B, on how that's on the registration. So if you're getting involved in a relationship or a new status in life and you add someone to the title on your car, you better make sure and pay attention to how that's worded on the registration. And a
That
lot of
was almost a
times
swear word.
the clerk at
That was.
the clerk, well, you can beep it out, but the clerk at DMV is not going to specify. You got to really watch how they put that down.
And that's something that they actually you can sort of you do that at the time of registration for the vehicle,
There's a
Yeah, and
correct?
check
you should.
box. You could check and, or you could check or. So you
Oh,
make sure and
okay.
check the one you want.
Yeah, and I mean, in tying in with what Mark said, if we go to a civil standby and a person presents a registration that says their name only, or the person in possession of the car is going to be the one that keeps the car. If it's both names involved, there's nothing we can do about it. So even if someone calls for a civil standby, it's something that's going to have to be resolved in court.
Yeah, that's well, I guess in Mark and I's relationship, it's going to have to be or because I'm taking the cars.
Hey,
So,
let's break up the questions with in the news. Two California
uh,
men had what they thought was a good idea for making a few bucks, breaking into a 40,000 square foot building and stealing copper wiring from the vacant building. They ran into a bit of a problem by picking the wrong time to break into the Antioch, California building. Hey, I could use names, right? It was all over the news anyway, so I could use names, right?
if it's in the news, it
It's
sure
in the
can.
news. It's all over the internet. When James Ayers, 26, and Frederick Gully, 38, decided to break into the building, the Antioch Police Canine Unit was using the building for a training exercise. A police officer was hiding inside the building for the police dog to practice trying to find him. When the canine officer shouted out that a dog was about to be released and anyone inside should come out of the risk being bitten, Ayers surrendered immediately. The two were arrested on suspicion of commercial burglary. They picked the wrong building, I guess.
Yeah, you don't usually pick the canine training building to try to commit the crime. I
No, no. Okay, next
say.
question.
Real quick on that same thing, it's incredibly dangerous to actually steal that type of wiring because, you know, as the guy found out in Fremont that went down into the manhole and stole the wiring from the Verizon lines, things can blow up when you mess with that stuff.
Oh yeah, I have pictures of two guys that tried to steal some wiring from a power pole, and
Mm.
basically their charred remains there's a picture of their charred remains at the bottom of the pole, basically in the position they were in when one of them actually touched the wrong wire. So yeah,
So basically, it wasn't worth the recycling fee, is what you're saying.
no, nope.
Yeah, no, and that's been a huge topic. I know it's been a huge issue around where I live, is that type of commercial burglary, because so many properties out here are not are vacant right now or foreclosed, that people are going in and taking advantage of that ability that nobody's there to see the crime ever.
We've got a
All right,
Well,
well,
we've
every
got
so
time
a.
you
go
every
ahead,
time the
Jim.
I
price
didn't
of
say that.
copper goes up, you see that all over the place. So anyway, go ahead, Jim. You just came back inside. Go ahead.
I thought that was you.
Okay, so anything, Jim? If not, question two is going to be next here.
No, I'm good.
All right, so question two, and then we'll do. Do you have more of the in the news stuff
Oh,
for later, Mark?
I've got plenty.
Wonderful. Okay, so we can break those up into each of the questions then. So I've been charged with a Class B misdemeanor, which is a bummer. Is it legal for me to carry an unloaded, open action rifle in my truck while on probation? Oh man, this is like a triple threat here.
Well, I don't even want to touch that one. He better check with his probation officer and see what the terms of his probation is. If it says may not possess or own a firearm, then it's going to be totally illegal for him. Generally, in a
Oh
lot of
well.
states, it's not illegal to carry an unloaded firearm. But if
Okay.
terms of your probation, if you're on parole or been convicted of domestic violence, or terms of probation say you cannot own a firearm, then it would be against the law. So he needs to check what the terms of his probation is.
Well, let's take it back a step. Let's take out the misdemeanor. Let's take out the probation, and let's just answer the question of, is it legal in most states to carry it unloaded, open action, and does rifle or handgun matter? And if it's in the vehicle, where should it be, and what should people be doing to properly carry a weapon?
Well, if it's not, as long as it's not concealed, because that becomes a law when it's a concealed weapon. I mean, if you're carrying a gun in a gun rack in the back of your pickup truck, which I don't know why someone would do that unless you live in, Timbuktu where there's a lot of hunting going on. If a police officer pulls you over for something, they're probably going to have their gun out or their hand on their gun, just being knowing that there's a gun in your vehicle. But in a lot of states, it is legal to carry a unloaded firearm as long as it is not concealed.
And not in the vicinity of the ammunition, correct?
Right. In fact, there's that big open carry um, movement going on here in California where people are going to coffee shops. A large group of open carry advocates are carrying unloaded guns on their hip and the ammunition on the other side on their belt, which is perfectly legal. Um, The trouble is, a lot of them have an empty magazine in the gun, so the gun may appear to be loaded. Um, so
It's
police,
kind of
it
very
is,
hard to verify that.
it is. So a police officer has a right to contact them and make sure the gun is not loaded. But it is legal to carry an unloaded gun in a lot of states.
Okay, so I mean, this is a great topic to talk about, and something I wanted to bring up is this open carry thing. We've heard about it in the news here for, I don't know, it's been at least what, the last 4 or 5 months. It's been a pretty hot topic around here.
Right.
So, I mean, how do you guys take this? Active on the street officers that have to go confront a bunch of open carry people. Yes, we know it's legal. That's fantastic. That's the letter of the law. So, how does this affect your guys' decision making when you're on scene, or I mean, I'd be kind of, this would worry me a bit. So, what do you guys? I mean, how are you guys handling that in the field?
Well, I haven't come across it yet, but technically the officer has a right to make sure the gun's not loaded, but being that the guy didn't do anything wrong, if the gun is unloaded, they really don't have a right at that time to run names for warrants or background checks or anything, which worries me because you could have a parolee out there doing that. And if you don't have the right to run his name to see if he has a right to carry a gun or not, you could actually have parolees out there carrying guns and ammunition.
Okay, so you go to your local coffee shop for a coffee. There's a guy sitting there. I mean, you're telling me that I have I have no ability to contact that guy because he's got a gun on and no ID, no anything that shows that he's in law enforcement or security, possibly no uniform.
From what the open carry law states, you have a right to contact him. And if he
Okay.
says, hey, I'm exercising my right, open carry, the gun's unloaded, you have a right to check the weapon to make sure it is not loaded. And that's if it is unloaded, he's not doing anything wrong. That's basically the end of the contact. There's a lot of other things that could come into play if someone.
Well, I don't know if I'd want to have the guy hand me the gun.
Yeah, well, I think in a
I guess is
situation
what it
like that,
comes
you
down
would
to.
have the right to tell him, I'm going to remove the gun and check it and see. But
Right.
I mean, this thing is all so new now, and some departments have seen a lot of it. Other departments have not seen it at all. So this thing is all so new. Um, they're still kind of experimenting with what can be done, what can't be done.
Yeah, I guess there's not a good solution either because even the normal person on the street, I mean, I've been in law enforcement for a long time. I sort of know what to look for. I sort of know what people should and should not be doing. Yet this guy's sitting there with, a gun on his side, with no ID, with no anything, with a, we don't know who he is or what he is, unless he's wearing a shirt that says "I support open carry." It's going to be I would assume it's going to increase the amount of calls that are going to be coming in.
Well, that's happened. People aren't. If someone sees a gun and a holster on someone's belt, they expect to see a badge displayed also because you
I
assume
would
it's a
hope,
detective or something. But if some guy's
or
in a
a
pair of
security
jeans,
guard or something. Yeah,
yeah. But if some guy's in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt,
with a gun.
yeah, with a gun on his side, people are gonna wonder about that. So it's still in a very experimental stage, and the open carry movement is really pushing forward and trying to test the boundaries and see. And they do have a lot of rights. They're like I said, a police officer can't do records checks of the gun or the person, um, basically, unless other things come into play. So there's still a lot to find out about it.
And I don't know. That just I'm all for having rights and right to bear arms and all of that stuff. I just worries me that we could be out doing something a little bit more important than hunting down the open carry people at the Starbucks.
Right,
So
right.
Jim, anything on that one, or you want to move on to the next in the news?
No, I'm good.
All right.
When an Illinois man broke into an apartment to steal a plastic jug filled with about $400 in change, he apparently had in mind buying drugs and returning to a motel to get high. His plan might have worked, except for one small problem. He left his identification card at the apartment. Police say Robert Allen Fry of Rock Island, Illinois, used his Department of Corrections ID card to jimmy the lock of the apartment and left it at the scene of the crime. He was arrested the following day at a motel. Fry was charged with burglary, possession of drug paraphernalia, and interference with an investigation. Fry, 43 years of age, previously served 2 years and 3 months of a 10-year sentence for, guess what, guys?
Uh, Breaking and entering.
Burglary, and was released from prison in January. Say it ain't so.
And what was his ID card?
Uh, Department of Corrections ID card.
And he worked there?
Oh no, 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 no. He was
Oh.
given a parolee card when he left.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, his parolee. I'm a parolee card, which
But
he
the
used to
charges
get
for
to the
being in
apartment.
possession of a weapon were not filed as to not violate his right to open carry.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah.
Gerald F. Rohr Jr. has been sentenced to Indiana prison for robbing a bank by handing a teller a note demanding money from which was written on one of his own checks. Authorities said Rohr, a crack addict, also robbed another bank with a note written with handwriting so bad that he had to read it to the teller. Stupid
Hey, excuse me.
criminals.
What does that say? Sorry, that's just horrible. All right, so yeah, that's wow. Well, let's move on to a more serious question or serious problem. So, question 3 brings us into the problem of, well, I'll read it and I'll let you guys dissect this as needed. So, I was pulled over for speeding. The cop commented that I was setting a bad example as a Christian because my license plate reads, "Christians aren't perfect, just forgiven by God who is." He proceeded in questioning my faith in Christianity. Is that okay to judge, belittle, or put me down? Well, I could say the answer to that is no, but let's dive into it a little deeper.
Well, since Jim has a habit of belittling people on traffic stops, we'll let him start.
Well, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I got nothing, Mark.
Technically, that was belittling right there, but
It was.
go right ahead.
Anyway, hey, a lot of cops try to break the ice on traffic stops. I worked as a motor unit for 4 years, and some people are really nervous, they're afraid, they're angry. So I've used jokes or humor to try to, break the ice and make the stop go basically however pleasant it could be when you get a ticket. But there could be a line to cross. I mean, the officer there may have made a joke about it, saying, "Hey, if you really were a Christian, you wouldn't be speeding," or whatever he said. I don't know. May have been trying to break the ice. If it clearly offended you and you said something to him and he kept at it, if you felt it was over the line, there's options people could take. They could make a complaint to the on-duty supervisor, just say, "I really didn't appreciate that." They could file a formal complaint at the police department if they thought it went too far. But I mean, you got to understand, a lot of times cops will say something just to break the ice, and we don't know if the guy really crossed over the line and kept at it. Um, but
Well, I
if
mean,
that person
we don't
felt
know if any we don't know if any of this happened
right,
yet.
right, but
It really comes down. I mean, I see a lot of stickers, I see a lot of decals, I see a lot of stuff on the back of a lot of cars when you pull them over.
right.
And I guess the question is, well, I mean, I guess the question comes down to is what should people expect at a traffic stop in general? I don't. I mean, I understand the breaking the ice, that type of thing, joking around. That I mean, well, as long as it's not a serious offense that you're pulling this person over
Right. I
for.
mean, her question, I mean, I think most people in their life has gotten a ticket. So they know the basic behind getting a ticket. The officer comes up, license, registration, insurance, explains what you did wrong, blah, blah, blah. You get the ticket. Here's your court date. So I think most people know what a ticket is. But I think this listener's question was saying that the officer made fun of a bumper sticker that she had on the back, and then she felt like it went too far. I mean, we pulled over people before that were drug dealers with a bunch of drugs in the car. Then they have a dare bumper sticker on the back bumper, or a bumper sticker that says, "I support the local police." So you can't help but make fun about something like that. So, hey,
Right.
officers have a sense of humor too. Sometimes it's a sick sense of humor, but in a situation like that, they may make a joke about something. If they cross the line, there is an avenue for that, but maybe this listener didn't have a sense of humor, and when the cop made the joke, she took it wrong.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I guess you can take anything wrong,
all
really.
right.
So, all right. Well, I think in a future show, I think we should probably dive pretty deep into what to expect at a traffic stop, what's expected of you, what the cops are thinking on the way up, that type of thing, to give people a really good idea of, maybe to try to take a little bit of that fear away from that. Well, unless they're true criminals, then they can have all the fear they want.
Pencil that down for a future show, Brent.
Yeah, that'll be episode 23. No problem. We got 20 to go, but we're good.
Thieves thought they had a great idea when they stole 14 cell phones that were stored at the town of Babylon, New York, Public Works garage, and planned to sell them for a profit. Their plans went awry when the phones turned out to be GPS system devices, which led police straight to their door. When city officials found the devices missing, they immediately turned on their GPS system, which showed one of the devices being used inside a house. When police arrived, they found 46-year-old Carl Husfeldt holding the device in his hand. I think that's caught red-handed. Husfeldt was arrested for possession of stolen property. His 13-year-old son and 20-year-old Steve Mangi, I'm not even going to try that name, was charged with the actual theft of the devices.
And this was a phone, you said?
Yes, with GPS.
So they should have just called him and told him that he was under arrest, but that's okay.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of things out there that are GPS activated now, a lot of the phones and everything. So, something for criminals to keep in mind. You steal something with a GPS, it could come back and bite you.
Why are we
Well, I
letting
hate
them
to.
keep that in mind?
So
Why are we
I hate
telling
to.
them?
Well, it's too late now. Hopefully they
You
won't
don't you
listen
don't
to the
think they
show.
know? They don't care.
You'd be amazed, though. I mean, with the computer issues that we've been having lately, with people invading people's privacy through webcam interfaces, through all these other issues that we've been seeing, I think a lot of people just don't plain understand the technology that's in their hand in many cases and what kind of trouble it can get them into. I mean, GPS, with Twitter and all these other location-based services, I got to tell you, I'm amazed more people don't have more problems. I don't think I want everybody to know that I'm on the corner Starbucks every single day at 10 o'clock. I don't. I just kind of thing scares me a bit.
Wearing an unloaded gun?
Potentially, yeah. I'll wear my shirt though that says open carry. So, all right. So before we dive into this last one, because it's going to probably take a few minutes to talk about it. What is there any other topics you guys want to touch on today?
Oh, I certainly do.
Oh well, go
Right in
ahead.
front of my hot little hands here, I am reading the police report from the local police department in the city that I live. And it shows basically their police log for a couple of days here. And I'm going to get started right into it here. Theft at 10:03 a.m. A caller reported a briefcase was taken from an unlocked vehicle in the first block of blah 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 lane. Burglary residence. A caller reported at 5:43 p.m. that the back door of a residence in the 800 block of blah 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 was kicked in and the residence was burglarized. Suspicious circumstance. At 8:17 p.m., a caller reported that a man was trying to break into a vehicle in the 500 block of blah 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 blah. Burglary auto. A vehicle in the 600 block of blah 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 was reported burglarized at 8:41. Burglary auto. A window smash burglary to a vehicle on such and such road was reported at 9:39 p.m. You want the other 25?
So in what time frame did these all happen? So you're telling me there's 25 incidents for how long?
Well, the ones I just read was just from one day.
One day.
Yeah. Here
And
we'll go on to the next day. Theft. A TV was reported stolen from the lobby of a business in the 2200 block of whatever Boulevard at 4:40 a.m. How is a TV stolen from the lobby of a business without somebody seeing? Burglary auto. A gym bag was reported stolen from a vehicle in the first block of whatever circle. I'm not going to give street names here. Whatever circle at 8:27 a.m. Now tell me, the person in that one probably thinks it was just a gym bag, but to a crook, it could be a laptop case or something. Theft. Two callers reported seeing men steal mail from mailboxes in the 500 block of Boulevard at 2:43 p.m. and at 5:44 p.m. Okay, in that case, it would be very wise for the people to get a license plate number. That would have been good. Burglary auto.
or a locking mailbox.
Yeah. A stereo was reported stolen from a vehicle in a parking garage in the 100 block of whatever. I'm just going to say
Just don't give names.
I'm just going to say March Drive. We'll call it March Drive for all these streets at 5:10 p.m. You know, most stereos now have removable faceplates or pull-out stereos, so it probably wouldn't have been stolen if the person did that. Burglary auto. A caller reported at 10:54 p.m. that a vehicle in the first block of March Lane was burglarized. A DUI, another DUI.
And this just so we all understand here, this town that you live in is a relatively nice town or
Yeah,
crummy town,
no, this is considered a low crime town.
and you're talking 25 relatively good incidents in a day.
Let's continue. And well, over the course of a few days. Now, let me go through
Few
them
days.
all, and then you tell me what the drift seems to be on most of these crimes. Burglary auto. A purse and GPS were reported stolen from a vehicle in the 300 block of March Road at 9:26 a.m. and another vehicle in the 200 block was reported burglarized at 9:56 a.m. So a purse and a GPS unit were left in plain view. Like, duh, somebody's going to take that. Auto
Well,
theft, 427.
that seems to be how all of them are.
Yep. At 10:44 p.m., a caller reported items taken from an unlocked vehicle in the 2300 block of March Boulevard. Another DUI. Well, a lot of DUIs too. Burglary auto. The window of a vehicle in the 500 block of March Road was reported broken at 11:54 a.m. and items taken. Burglary auto. A backpack was reported stolen from a vehicle on the 600 block of March way. Now, again, someone may say it's just a backpack. To a thief, they're thinking, oh, it could have a laptop, could have all kinds of stuff in it. A miscellaneous disturbance, theft. An iPod, credit card, and papers were reported taken from an unlocked vehicle on the 400 block of March Road. Okay, why would you leave that stuff in a car, and especially an unlocked car? Burglary
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not
residence.
theirs.
At 9:29 a.m., a caller reported that a maintenance shed in the 100 block of March Drive was burglarized. All right, put a lock on it. Burglary residence. Burglary
So,
auto. 10:38
right,
a.m., a vehicle in the 200 block of March Parkway was reported burglarized. Theft.
okay, I can't take any more
A
depression.
caller
Let's
reported
stop.
mail stolen from a mailbox. Here, I'll ad lib. A bicycle reported stolen from an enclosed patio. A vehicle reported stolen from blah 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 blah. Malicious mischief. Caller reported at 6:31 that a mailbox was run over by the driver of a vehicle, probably from one of the DUIs that I mentioned. Burglary residence, burglary auto, burglary auto, burglary auto, theft, theft, burglary from a business, burglary auto, burglary auto, burglary residence, theft, auto theft, burglary auto. So all of
So,
those were in a few days from a low crime town. Now, most people wouldn't even know about that unless you read the paper or listen to a police scanner. They think they live in Mayberry and there's no crime. I can guarantee you, if every police department in every city put a log like this together, I don't care what city you live in, high crime, low crime, gated community, whatever. There's a lot of crime. We talked about this in the last show. The criminal's job is they work nights. They go out, they walk through neighborhoods, they walk through parking lots, they try car doors. If it's unlocked, they rummage through, see what's in there. Um, if it's locked, normally they'll go on to another car. But if they see something inside, they don't care if it's locked, they're going to smash the window and grab it. And this is a prime example right here. This is just a few days from the town I live in, and you heard how many auto burglaries that there were.
okay, so I found a website this week when I was looking for topics for today's show, and it's kind of interesting. It's called crimereports.com. And it appears, and I'm not going to vouch for any of this because I haven't looked into this deep enough to say that this is all legitimate information, but basically it seems like this site is your report, but it actually shows you physically on a map where those actual crimes happen in relation to where that person might live. So you can actually supposedly go here, and it will give you email alerts or update your phone or 50 other ways it seems that they're connected through the social networks to be able to give you alerts of the crimes that are happening around you, which is actually input by law enforcement agencies. So it might be an interesting tool for people to check out. I mean, I
Well,
haven't even had time to look at it yet.
it would depend on how many agencies enter that information. I know the agency I work for, nothing makes it to the paper unless it's a major shooting or something. There's some agencies that report all their car burglaries and stuff like this one here I just read, but there's a lot of other agencies that don't report that. So it could be misleading. Somebody could say, "Hey, there's no crime here, look," when in fact
Oh,
it's just
well,
not being
I mean,
passed on.
they're obviously going to have to look at what agencies are supporting it. I know. I think this site, the list is pretty long, so it's something to definitely look at, especially if you're in the San Jose, California area, because that San Jose puts all their crime stats on here. So
Right.
it's kind of interesting, something to check out, though.
Yeah.
All right, so is that good, Jim? You still with us, or?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, good. Okay, so enough coffee over there.
Good to go.
Let's uh, let's dive into the last. I guess it's more of a topic than a question, and it's something that's been in the news lately around me, and that's related to a local police department that's trying to do the simple operation of moving from their incredibly old, very out of date police facility into a new police station down the road in a currently, well, right in our area right now we have a ton of foreclosed large buildings. So the city's trying to take over these couple buildings, move in, and basically, in a nutshell, the neighbors don't want them. And I guess from what I can tell, there's been a huge fear in the community as to what a police department being in your neighborhood means to your neighborhood. And I think maybe we can take a couple minutes to sort of dispel some of the rumors or some of the TV mentality of what a police department is and does, versus what a actual city police department or a small town police department actually is and does. And either of you feel free to go for it.
But there's pros and cons, I think.
Well, let's start with the pros.
The pros are very few residential burglaries occur at houses that are right next to or around a police station. Crime still can and does occur near a police station, but most criminals, just the sight of a bunch of police cars out in the parking lot and officers walking in and out, um, most criminals tend to choose a little safer area. They know if an alarm goes off, the officer looks up and sees them. They could be busted right then and there. So one of the pros are I think you would find there's less crime close to a police station. Um,
Faster response time.
yeah, they could run over there.
Yeah, you just walk out the back door and you're at the guy's house.
Right.
So, what other pros that you can think of?
Jim?
I don't know. I worked out on the river. I got nothing.
If. We must have made Jim mad or something. He keeps saying, I got nothing. Come on, Jim. What would be the pros of having a police station right near in your neighborhood?
There are no pros.
Seriously.
They ought to bury it. They ought to put it underground. They ought to put it like 80 miles away from the heart of the city that they're going to be serving, because Lord knows what. You don't want to inconvenience the handful of residents that are going to live right next door. What are they thinking? You're going to be bringing hardened criminals and DUIs and everybody else right next to somebody else's house. I think that the whole safety of the city ought to be a result just of those couple houses that are going to be right next door to the police department. Bury it. Put it underground. Put it out in the bay. I think every city in the Bay Area ought to have their police department out on Alcatraz, and they'd be cool.
So I'm thinking we might have hit a nerve right there. Just getting that gist. I've been in law enforcement for long enough to understand and be able to read people.
Not in my backyard.
I'm reading that you don't believe that these people in this city are arguing the correct points here.
I think the city ought to send a letter of apology to those three houses for even inconveniencing them.
Yeah, but you know what?
Okay.
These people, the same people that are complaining, saying, I don't want a police department in my neighborhood, who are they going to call when someone's breaking into their house?
Right. Okay, so I've run into this situation. I'm not going to say these people have the same situation I ran into. Is when you go into a crummy neighborhood where this is not, you get rocks and bottles thrown at you one day, you come back the next day, and those people expect you to save them.
Right.
So this is the same scenario, except it's the fact that they don't want what, though? So they're saying, let's dive into the cons.
Well, the
cons here, the cons are what?
Yeah, I know what they fear.
Well, list them. Tell me what are
registrations, sex registrants, anybody ordered by the courts that have to register with the police department are going to come to the police station to register, and then they walk out the front door and they're in the neighborhood or wherever. Anybody that's arrested on a misdemeanor charge or a warrant that's releasable, they could be picked up in a bad part of town or anywhere, brought to the police station, booked, and then they're kicked out the back door. And these people are fearing that criminals are going to be let loose in their neighborhood. It's going to be a draw of, everybody that has to register coming into the neighborhood. But I believe from the little bit that I read about it is the police department said they're not going to have a holding facility there, which means no criminals are going to be held in the building, and they're not going to be doing registrations there. That's done at a different facility. So I think it's kind of a myth that people are saying that it's going to bring a criminal element into the neighborhood, when in fact they will not have a holding facility, and the registrants are going to be done in a different neighborhood.
Well, okay. So in 90% of the crimes that a small city police department's going to bring in is what? DUIs and
Thefts,
potentially
warrants.
theft. Okay. which those guys are going to go to jail.
Yeah, I mean, any felonies or serious crimes are going to be booked to the police station and taken to the county jail.
Correct.
They're not going to be left, no, there's really no police departments that have a jail where they actually keep people for extended period of time. Most police departments just have a booking facility, a couple of cells where they could hold somebody a few hours up to a few hours before they're either released or shipped over to county jail.
So you're saying that if you booked me in for theft and you were going to take me to jail, you don't just kick me out the front door and say, "Hey, go wander the neighborhood"?
Well, if you're just going to be site released, yeah, you're kicked out of the jail.
Do you release that person to somebody that takes them away usually?
Nope, they
Friend,
just they
family,
just
whatever?
walk out the front door and they're on their own.
Okay, so there are legitimate cons potentially.
No pun intended.
Exactly.
I think the
So,
criminals ought to sue the homeowners for slander that are opposed to the PD for insulting their intelligence, thinking that some dude that just got released for doing a crime is going to be stupid enough to burglarize the house next door to a police department where there's 60 cops inside. I think they ought to sue the homeowners in opposition to that for slander.
well,
Actually, I'm thinking they
technically,
should get together with the open carry advocates and go protest in front of these people's houses wearing guns, unloaded
well,
guns, right?
and they're already known to the cops. So it'd be like just good buddies getting back together again when they're rearrested for that crime. So it would cut down a lot of paperwork. You
Okay,
just
look at
add
it
it as
this
a
way.
crime.
If out of everything that could be in your neighborhood, okay, it could be a halfway house, it could be a liquor store. I think the least thing you'd have to worry about is a police department.
So
Unless
here's
you're a
here's
Christian.
oh God, let's not go there. So we
The
can
speed.
close this out sort of. But the question comes down to this is if we had somebody or I knew somebody that was actually opposed to this
Do you
and
know
they
anybody,
wanted to
Brent?
come and they wanted to come on the show and talk about this, is that something that we want to potentially do? Oh,
Hello?
that's a lot of silence.
Well, I think you would need to find a pro person and a con person to make it fair.
Well, I can tell you that we could bring in any of the cops from that department and they'd be pro
I think you
because
could go a neutral. You'd have to find a neighbor that's pro and a neighbor that's against, and to
okay.
make it fair, I think.
Hey, let's just do a live
Unless you
show
wanted
from
to
the
bring,
city council meeting.
unless you wanted to bring a law enforcement official in to totally explain that, but I don't know if you
That's a
want to.
tough call. I don't know. I honestly don't know if any of them would talk about any of it. So it's going to be something that we're going to see in the news. I know I am for weeks and months and probably years to come because it's taken them 5 years to just get authorization to even do anything with a new police department yet. So there's always been something going on.
Well, in
But
your Huffy town, Brent, let me put it this way:
mhm.
I have never heard ar arguments against the police station moving to a neighborhood. I mean, there are some concerns that people have, but that's usually addressed by the police department or the city council. And most people welcome a police department into their neighborhood with open arms. Most people.
Yeah, but I mean, I know a community that's right down the street from me that, and since I work in my regular job, since I'm a reserve and don't get paid, work my regular job, they brought up the fire department actually was told that they were reported that their sirens are too loud in the neighborhood and the people were complaining.
Hmm.
So I guess it goes both ways. You know, it's I guess nobody's really safe out there when it comes to having stuff reported or being cried about in different ways.
Well, I
I
gotta
guess
admit,
I
if
mean
there was a fire, if they built a fire station right next to me, and it every couple hours, 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, the air horn's going off on the siren, that might wear on my nerves a little bit too. But
Unless your house is on fire.
that's
yeah,
true. Then,
exactly.
yeah, I'd be out with a
Then it's
flashlight on
then
the
they're
roof,
your
taking them
best
down.
yeah, then they're your best friends.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll kind of keep that topic in the news, and we'll just if anything new comes up later on, we can hit that as we go.
And I'm going to have another
Uh,
25 or 30 crimes from the week next week just to keep everybody updated with what is happening.
yeah,
Behind
we
a
should
gated community.
We should poll cities and see if they want us to talk about all their crimes on the air.
Yeah, I think that'd be a big negative.
I don't know. Yeah, the person who comes in last wins.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, do we have anything else? Or do we want to close out this week?
No, I'm
I
hungry. I
got
think we
nothing.
could close this out.
Okay. So Jim, nothing. Mark, nothing. We'll just
Again,
go over.
thank you for your support, and please give us some feedback. Type to Brent. Let him know if you heard the show, what you think of it, suggestions for the new show, what you'd like to hear, because we don't know
So
unless you
let's.
let us know.
So we'll run down the website real quick. The website is coptalk.info. You can ask us questions directly from the site in the Ask a Cop section. You can subscribe via email on the website. And please, if you do subscribe in iTunes, write us a review. Hey, we're pretty tough. We can take the good and the bad. As you can tell, Jim never gets bothered by anything. So it shouldn't be a really big deal. And other than that, thanks for the continuing support, and we'll see you next week.
Later.